That changed in the winter of 2018 when I took a sales job at a used car dealership called Westbridge Motors on the edge of town. It was in a quiet industrial area outside Columbus, Ohio. During the day, it looked ordinary. Glass showroom in front, service bays in the back, a fenced lot packed tight with trade-ins. At night, though, the place felt different. Too still, like the air itself was holding its breath. I was the newest hire, so I got closing shifts. That meant locking up alone around 9:30 p.m. The first week was fine, just paperwork and silence. Then the noises started. The showroom had motion sensor lights. After 10 minutes of no movement, everything would shut off. One night, I was in the finance office finishing a deal sheet when the lights in the showroom snapped on. Bright, sudden. I assumed a customer had come in late. When I stepped out, the floor was empty. Rows of polished cars reflected the fluorescent glare. No one at the door. No one near the reception desk. I checked the cameras from my desk. The footage showed the lights coming on, but there was no visible movement that triggered them. No shadow. No figure. I told myself it was a glitch. Old wiring. Faulty sensor. The next incident wasn't so easy to brush off. We had a silver 2014 Toyota Camry parked inside the showroom. Clean car. Low mileage. I remember it clearly because I had detailed it myself. That night as I walked past it to grab my jacket, the driver's side door slowly creaked open. Not swung open. Not popped loose. It eased open like someone was stepping out. I froze. I waited for someone to climb out. No one did. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I forced myself to approach the car. The interior light was on. The seat was empty. Keys were not in the ignition. In fact, the keys were locked in my drawer. I shut the door, making sure it latched. 5 seconds later, the car horn blasted. It wasn't a quick beep. It was a full, sustained horn that echoed across the glass walls and bounced back at me. I nearly fell backward. I ran to my desk and grabbed the key fob. I pressed lock. Nothing. The horn kept screaming. Finally, it stopped on its own, just cut off mid-sound. That was the first time I felt real fear. Not jumping nerves. Not imagination. Fear. The next morning, I told my coworker Brian Walsh. He'd been there 8 years. He just stared at me for a second, then asked quietly, "Was it the silver Camry?" When I nodded, his face changed, like I confirmed something he didn't want confirmed. He told me that 3 years earlier, a salesman named Ryan Hargrove had taken that same Camry on a late test drive with a customer. On the way back, they were hit by a drunk driver at an intersection about a mile from the dealership. The customer survived. Ryan didn't. The car was totaled at the time, or so everyone thought. But months later, the dealership bought it back from auction fully repaired. No one talked about it much, but Brian said odd things have been happening around that vehicle ever since. Doors unlocking, radios turning on, battery draining overnight for no reason. I didn't want to believe him. I told myself grief and gossip can twist anything into a ghost story. But that Friday night changed everything. We had a snowstorm coming in. Everyone left early. I stayed behind to finish inventory logs. By 8:45 p.m., it was just me and the quiet hum of the heating system. Then the showroom lights went out. Complete darkness. I swore under my breath and stepped into the main floor to trigger the sensors. They didn't come on. I waved my arms. Nothing. The only light came from the street lamps outside, casting long, pale stripes across the cars. That's when I saw it. Someone was sitting in the driver's seat of the silver Camry. A dark shape, clear outline of a head and shoulders. I stopped breathing. The interior light flickered on for half a second, and I saw a face. Not clearly, but enough. A man, mid-20s, pale, blank expression, looking straight at me. Then the light went out again. I ran for the front door and fumbled with the lock. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped the keys twice. When I finally got outside, I didn't look back. The next morning, I came in early with Brian. The Camry was locked, empty, battery dead. We pulled the security footage. At 8:52 p.m., The cameras captured me, standing frozen in the showroom. The Camry's interior light flickered, but there was no one inside. Just me, staring at an empty seat. That was when the dread truly settled in. Whatever I had seen, the cameras hadn't. And that meant it wasn't just in the car. It was in the building, and it had chosen me. After that night, things escalated fast. I started hearing footsteps in the service bay after closing. Slow, deliberate steps on concrete. When I'd walk back there, the bay doors would be closed, tools neatly hung, no one around. One evening, I heard the distinct sound of someone knocking on a car window. 3 sharp taps. I turned toward the sound and saw the Camry's rear window vibrating slightly like it had just been struck from the inside. Inside. I stopped staying late after that, but the dealership had other plans. 2 weeks later, our manager, Karen Mitchell, scheduled a weekend sales event. Extended hours. That meant closing alone again Saturday night. I remember checking the Camry's battery earlier that day. It had been replaced. Fresh install. No issues. At 9:20 p.m., I was finishing paperwork when my phone buzzed. It was a notification from the dealership's security app. Motion detected in showroom. I was already inside the showroom. I slowly turned. All the cars were still. Then every single car's headlights turned on at once. Not flickering. Not random. All of them. White beams cutting through the dark, filling the space with blinding light. Engines silent. Keys nowhere near ignitions. The air felt heavy, pressurized. Then the Camry's engine started. I heard the ignition, clear as day. The engine idled smoothly, headlights glaring straight at me. I backed toward the glass doors. The car shifted. I heard the click of it moving into drive, and it rolled forward, slowly. No one in the driver's seat. I could see clearly through the windshield. Empty. The car kept moving until it gently tapped the showroom glass. Not enough to shatter it, just enough to pin me in place. The horn sounded once. Short. Controlled. I don't know what took over me, but I shouted, "What do you want?" The engine revved sharply in response. Then everything shut off. All headlights. Engine. Lights in the building. Darkness. When emergency lighting kicked in seconds later, the Camry was back in its original spot. Perfectly aligned. I quit the next morning. Karen thought I was overworked. Brian didn't try to stop me. He just nodded like he understood. A week later, I drove past Westbridge Motors out of curiosity. The showroom was dark. A for sale sign hung crooked on the fence. I later found out the dealership shut down suddenly after multiple employees reported unsafe electrical issues and refused to work closing shifts. The building still stands empty today. Here's the part that still keeps me awake. 3 months after I quit, I got a letter in the mail from the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles. It was addressed to me. Inside was a vehicle transfer notice. It listed my name as the new registered owner of a 2014 Toyota Camry. Silver. VIN number matched the one from the dealership. I never signed anything. Never bought it. I called the BMV immediately. They told me the transfer had been processed electronically from the dealership's system the night of the sales event. At 9:23 p.m., the exact minute the car rolled toward me. I drove back to Westbridge the next day. The lot was empty. No cars. No staff. But parked right in front of the showroom doors was a silver Camry. Clean. Polished. Engine off. As I stood there staring at it, the driver's side door slowly creaked open. Just like before. I didn't go near it. I got in my car and left. I moved out of that town within a month. To this day, I refuse to step inside any showroom after dark. And whenever I pass a silver Camry on the highway, I check the driver's seat. Because sometimes just for a second, I think I see someone sitting there, watching me, waiting. A couple wandering through after dinner. A guy in a construction vest asking about financing. By 9 p.m., it was usually just me, the echo of my footsteps, and the ticking wall clock near the finance desk. The first time something felt wrong, it was raining. Heavy, steady rain, that blurred the highway lights outside the glass walls. We had just taken in a 2018 black Chevrolet Impala from a police auction. It had been involved in what the paperwork described as a fatal collision. That was all it said. The interior was spotless when it arrived. Too spotless. No stains. No visible damage. The detail crew joked that it looked like it had never been driven. But when I sat in the driver's seat to log the mileage, the air felt thick, like the car had been sealed for years. I remember turning the key. The radio came on automatically. Static at first, then a faint voice cutting through the noise. "Help me." It was so clear that I froze. I reached for the dial thinking maybe it had picked up some late-night talk station. But when I turned it down, the voice didn't fade with the volume. It stayed the same. "Help me." My chest tightened. I shut the car off completely. The radio died. Silence filled the showroom except for the rain and my own breathing. I told myself it was interference. Old wiring. Something explainable. I locked up and left, but I kept thinking about that voice on the drive home. The next night, I mentioned it to Brian. He laughed it off. "Those auction cars sit in lots for months," he said. "Wiring gets weird. You probably heard a CB frequency or something." I wanted to believe him. 2 days later, a man came in asking specifically about the Impala. He was mid-40s, pale with deep lines around his eyes. He didn't look like someone shopping for a car. He looked like someone looking for something lost. "You just got in, right?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Great condition. Low miles." He didn't look at me. He stared at the car through the glass. "Can I sit in it?" he asked. I grabbed the keys. The moment he lowered himself into the driver's seat, his face changed. His hands began to tremble against the steering wheel. "She was right here," he whispered. I stepped back. "Excuse me." "My daughter," he said. "They told me she died instantly. Drunk driver hit her on the highway. They said she didn't suffer." The air in the showroom felt colder. "This is her car," he said. He turned the key. The engine started. The radio flickered on. Static. Then faint, but unmistakable. "Dad." The man's entire body jerked like he'd been electrocuted. Tears spilled down his face. "Emily," he whispered. "I swear to you I heard it too. Dad, help me." The voice sounded strained, like it was coming through water. The man lunged out of the car, backing away, as if it might grab him. I slammed the door shut and turned the ignition off. The radio cut instantly. He stared at me, shaking. "You heard it," he said. It wasn't a question. I couldn't lie. "Yeah." He ran his hands through his hair. "They told me she died instantly. But she called me that night. I missed it. I was asleep." He looked at the Impala again like it was breathing. "I need to buy it." I didn't know what to say. Company policy said we could sell to anyone with financing approved. But something in my gut screamed that letting this car leave would be a mistake. "Let me talk to my manager," I said. When I told Brian, his face went pale. "You heard something too?" he asked quietly. I nodded. He swallowed hard. "You're not the first." That's when he told me the detail guy Marcus had refused to clean the trunk because he said he heard scratching from inside, even though it was empty. Brian wanted to send the car back to auction, but paperwork takes time, and until it cleared, it had to sit in our showroom. That night, I stayed late again. Alone. The Impala parked under the central lights. At 8:47 p.m., the showroom speakers crackled. We didn't have music playing. They were off. Static filled the room. Then the voice. Not from the car this time. From everywhere. "Why didn't you help me?" The lights flickered. My reflection in the glass wall looked wrong. For a second, I saw a girl standing behind me in the reflection. Long dark hair. Pale face. Eyes wide with something between fear and anger. When I turned around, nothing was there. But the Impala's headlights turned on by themselves. I stood frozen in the middle of the showroom, heart pounding, so hard it hurt. The headlights of the Impala burned bright, casting long shadows across the polished floor. The keys were on my desk. No one was inside. Slowly, like I was moving underwater, I walked toward the car. Every instinct told me to leave, but my legs carried me forward anyway. The driver's door clicked. Unlocked. I hadn't touched anything. Emily, I heard myself say, even though I didn't know why. The radio switched on again. No static this time, just breathing, slow, uneven breathing. Then her voice. I couldn't get out. My throat tightened. What do you mean? The seatbelt, she said. It was stuck. I called him. I called and called. The temperature inside the showroom dropped so fast I could see my breath. The glass walls fogged slightly despite the heater running. I was still alive, the voice whispered. For a while, I felt sick. All this time her father believed she died instantly, that she didn't suffer. Why are you telling me this? I whispered. Silence stretched for several seconds. Then he needs to know. The headlights flickered and went dark. The radio cut off. I stood there shaking. The next morning, I called the father using the number from his credit application. His name was Thomas Reed. We met at a diner off Route 33. He looked like he hadn't slept. I need to tell you something, I said. As I explained what I'd heard, his face went from confusion to devastation. Tears streamed down his cheeks in the middle of the booth. They told me she was gone on impact. He kept repeating. I don't think that's true, I said quietly. He covered his face with his hands. She called me. I ignored it. I thought I'd talk to her in the morning. I felt the weight of that guilt pressing down on him. He decided not to buy the car. Instead, he wanted to see the accident report. He filed a request. Weeks later, he called me. His voice was hollow. The paramedics' notes, he said. They say she had a pulse when they arrived. Weak, but there. My stomach dropped. He had been lied to. Or maybe someone just simplified the story to spare him pain. But the truth was worse. The dealership finally arranged to send the Impala back to auction. The night before the transport truck came, I stayed late one last time to finish paperwork. At 9:12 p.m., the showroom lights shut off completely. Pitch black. The emergency lights kicked in dim and red. The Impala's horn blared once long and deafening. Then the radio turned on at full volume. Thank you. The word echoed through the showroom speakers, clear and calm. The headlights flashed twice, and then everything went silent. The power returned a few seconds later. The car sat there like it always had. Dark, lifeless, just metal and glass. When the transport truck hauled it away the next morning, I felt something lift from the building. The air felt normal again. The hum of the lights didn't sound so loud. A month later, I couldn't shake the feeling that some places hold more than inventory. Some objects carry moments trapped inside them. I still drive past Ridgeway sometimes. It looks the same. Bright lights, shiny cars, smiling salesmen. But whenever I see a black Impala on the road, my hands tighten on the steering wheel. Because I know what I heard, and I know she was still alive.